bulk and when to cut. If you haven't seen my previous video on what is bulking and cutting, be sure to watch that one first. When I first started off, I was skinny and I knew that I needed to bulk. Sure, I had some fat, but minimal. This was a clear indication that I needed more calories. The only thing was that I was trying to pick up a lot of muscle, but I was just getting fat with my bulk. I was still not very big, and this did not make me look like someone that worked out. I would yo-yo from skinny to doughy, and eventually I'd fall out of gym and my diet and go back to being skinny again. This strategy wasn't working. The same proved true for me later when I tried to cut and burn the fat. I did not know how long to go for and how low to go without compromising my hard-earned muscle gains. What if I tracked and made sure that while I tried to bulk, that I only ate enough for muscle growth and no more? What if I stopped prioritizing eating healthy and restrictive and more in a manner that allows me to hit my caloric and protein goals more consistently and not over or under eat? So, how do we fine tune our caloric intake and get to know our body and know if we need more or less calories to start looking better visually? Because that's one of our main goals, right? So, rule number one is while my stomach was not flat, I ate at a slight caloric deficit, giving me the ability to burn fat and slowly build muscle. Now, progress is not going to go in a straight line, but once I felt like the progress started to taper off, I would then eat at maintenance calories for a bit to allow my body to sort of adjust and get used to the weight that I'm at. Now, this obviously depends on how much weight I've lost at that point. If I feel that I'm looking too skinny and I would prefer to work on adding some more muscle, instead of going into an extreme bulk, I would now slowly add about 200 calories and just monitor after a week or so and look at what my body says on the scale and what my measurements are. And then I'll just keep adjusting from there. So if I'm not adding anything on my waist, I'll keep adding more calories each week until I start seeing some fat gain. And then that would be where I would taper off slightly or just continue to push from there. So the goal when we're bulking is not trying to get our fat percentage back up, but rather to get in as much muscle without extending how long we need to go on the next cut for. We don't want to dirty bulk or bulk for too long either. I thought that I had to bulk for ages and ages and be at the size that I was ultimately going to be at before needing to start cutting. And that is definitely not the case. You don't need to look bad for most of your life until you're big enough to look good. My recommendation to you is to try and bring your body fat low enough to a point where you are happy with the way that you look. And then you can start increasing your calories from there. And if you need to drastically add on some size, then now if you started off the way I did, looking super anorexic, then obviously, without question, you know that you need to be bulking. But you can still cycle back and forth between bulking and cutting, even if you don't feel like you have enough muscle mass as yet. This will allow you to still look bigger by holding on to some definition and not just looking all puffy. You will actually look like you go to the gym, and you'll feel more motivated because you look better than what you would have had you then just been dirty bulking or bulking for way too long. So the third phase that I had mentioned in my previous video would be the maintenance phase. This is when you eat enough calories to maintain the body weight that you are currently at. This obviously does not mean that your body stays the same, because you'll still be burning fat for energy and building muscle at the same time. As I've said before, you do not need to be in a caloric surplus in order to build muscle, but it is a more optimal state to be in for muscle growth. Eating at maintenance calories will result in a gradual 50-50 to either side, this being both fat loss and building muscle. This is also referred to as body recomposition, maintaining, gaining, and probably a few other terms. Now, this sounds like the ideal option, but it's not always the case. This is where you ultimately want to be, but generally not where you would start off with. At least this was the case for me. Learning how and when to adjust my caloric intake to switch between phases is what has allowed me to keep lower body fat levels but still add on muscle. If you in need of assistance, then you are in luck, because my goal is to help 100 people who have not been seeing results, and they know that this is not from a lack of trying. I want to help you find your way. By the way, this assistance is completely free and with no strings attached. So if that is you, then send me a message, comment, let me know that you're interested, and I will be in touch. I'll see you tomorrow.